I'm not going to start saying I told you so, but I told you so. This group of bikers parked up on the side of the road. Instantly it screamed at me, car drivers. For the fact that they're not just parked on double yellow lines, they're not just parked blocking the entrance to a car park, or even the fact that they're parked right next to a dangerous junction. It was the fact they just looked so fucking confused. So I did a quick U-turn and went back just to see, if they'd broken down, if they were lost, if needed help. Turns out they were a little bit lost. And I actually commented about, you look like the stereotype boarding and car drivers. It was the fact, it wasn't so much the guy in the Hayabusa or the guy on the 800 Fazer. It was the two in the middle. The classic, I've been driving a car for 1,000 years, therefore I can ride a big bike. So you've got one guy on what looked like, I don't know, some adventure, like an Africa Twin or some of those adventure type bikes. Too tall for him to get his leg over barely, let alone ride safely. And the woman, yes, she was on a low-down cruiser, but it was so fucking heavy, she couldn't handle it. And it doesn't matter how low down the cruiser, if you don't know how bikes work, if you don't know how the roads work, you're going to fall off. And she did. She fell off. After I actually said to her, you don't want to do a U-turn here. She ignored me, getting very, very pissy that I dare give her advice, because she's on a much more expensive bike than me. And she promptly fell over. Now, the reason she fell over is extremely simple. You don't notice in a car. You do notice if you're on a bike. Every road has an angle. They're designed this way so water runs off of the road. You don't notice it in a car because you're not putting your foot down on the ground in a car. On a bike, you will notice it because one side is lower than the other if you're doing a U-turn. She didn't know this and therefore she fell over. You shouldn't have to put your feet down doing a U-turn. Feather the clutch, learn how to feather the clutch, and it won't be an issue. She basically all of a sudden had the ground high on one side and low on the other and fell over. She wasn't hurt. She was pissed off, and I actually picked the bike up with some other guy and she just got pissier and pissier. No thank you. Just basically looking to blame other people. This is what fucks me off about these car drivers. They don't have the common sense to get a bike that is suitable for their abilities. Get practice. The people with their fake profiles on Facebook who say your first bike's got to be 1,000cc, it's got to be a Triumph, it's got to be a Ducati. These are fake profiles of people who sell bikes. Nobody in their right fucking mind is going to buy a heavy bike or an expensive bike or a really fast bike for their first bike. Because you're going to crash, you're going to hurt yourself or someone else, or you're just going to fall over, which she did. And she did it on a relatively flat road with no other traffic around. As it turns out, a car did pull up, and as usual, the old couple, so busy looking at her, that they actually started to push my bike over. It was just their wing mirror hitting my wing mirror, but they weren't even looking where they were going. They were just hitting my bike. And as you will possibly hear, me slapping my hand on their car bonnet to get their attention because they were basically about to push my bike over. So yeah, moral of the story is, for fuck's sake, get something equal to your abilities. If you've never ridden a bike before, get something like a 125 or a 250 until you can actually build up some experience. If you cannot do a U-turn without putting your feet down, you shouldn't be on a bike. You sure as fuck should not be on...
You're hitting my bike! Oh God, I wonder what the hell was happening. I was more concerned about your friend. Well, watch where you're going and people won't get hurt. I'm very sorry. Well, move then.
A 500 or 1,000cc bike that's worth £15,000 or £20,000 that you're going to fall over on and not be able to pick up yourself. She didn't even attempt to pick it up. She just got really, really pissy. Men have to do that work for me, for fuck's sake. Yeah, this is a real big hate of mine. And you get these cretins and these evil people on places like Facebook. Oh, your first bike has to be 1000cc. You has to be a... No, these are people trying to sell you a bike. That's why they're saying it. Anybody with a fucking brain knows you don't start on a big bike. You start on something that you can handle. I'm looking at the guy on the Hayabusa. The Hayabusa has not been lent. So yeah, the guy might be able to ride it. I don't know his abilities, but what I do know, he doesn't ride it very fast. The guy in the fazer is saying he's at 175 miles an hour. Okay, a little piece of advice for you. The 800cc fazer will not do 175 miles per hour. I humoured him when I was there because this is a car driver mentality. They got this thing where they see a bike and they read spec on it and they think, oh yeah, I can add a bit to that. You don't. It's that simple. And he's there saying he's done 175 miles per hour on the main road from Bristol. Oh, fuck off, have you? You might have done it when it's up on a rolling ramp, or maybe somebody else did it on a track day, but you can tell by looking at the tyres, you've never lent the fucking bike more than a quarter of the way over. You sure as fuck haven't done 175. Yeah, it's a little pet hate. She wasn't injured, but this is what happens when you get people going through a midlife crisis riding bikes they cannot handle. And it's not just the fact that she's falling over, it's that I don't want to go on that hill. If you can't do a hill start, you shouldn't be on a bike. If you can't do a hill start, if you can't go around a tight bend, I'd actually stopped and I warned them about the bend. This is the Lynmouth side of Lynmouth Hill. There's two Lynmouth Hills. There's the one I came down earlier and I overtook these dickhead bikers on their Harleys doing 35 miles per hour with the spotlights on full beam. Dickheads. When I come down that Lynmouth Hill with a really nice view, I'm doing it at 75 miles an hour. It's not that difficult. It's a straight road. You've got pretty good visibility in both directions. Coming up, you can do 110 easily. There's plenty of visibility. There's a few metal covers in the middle that are a bit of an issue, and there's a few cat's eyes that are missing. But aside from that, it's a fairly easy road. The other side of Lynmouth Hill is one of the nasty, tight bend on a three-way junction. It doubles back on itself. So I'm just warning them, if you take it, you've got to do it really wide if you don't know what you're doing. And I can tell they didn't know what they were doing. Because if you get too close, you could smash your ankle against the raised concrete curb. I don't know what happened to them afterwards. They all just buggered off. And the only damage to our bike, because I picked it up quick, if it had been left on its side, because of the type of bike, I think it would have ended up flooding the carbs and they'd have been bump starting it. Or rather, they probably got me, the fat cripple, to bump start it because they wouldn't know how. But yeah, a dent in the tank and the brake lever, the little bit is snapped off. It's not a big deal, not a big issue. But yeah, oh my God, if you're not capable of doing a hill start or a U-turn or going around a tight bend, then what the fuck are you doing on a £15,000 bike? Because the bike she's on was about 15 grand's worth. What the fuck are you doing riding a bike like that? Oh, my husband bought it for me. Why the fuck would you do that? Do you have something like mental health issues? If you're not capable of riding something safely, why would you go and get something dangerous? It's like somebody who's only ever used a pea shooter goes out and buys a nuke. For fuck's sake. Yes, it's a bit of a pet hate, sorry. Yeah, that's basically my little whinge about that. If you're going to ride a bike, for fuck's sake, it's not embarrassing getting a 250. You can get some really nice, chunky looking 250s. So you can get your practice, get your skills up, and then get something bigger. Here endeth the rant. And dip your fucking headlights, dickheads.